Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll chant the Mangalacharan prayers together. Om Jnanatrimidantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmulitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tirubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktarvinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone to our Sunday Feast program. And thank you to all of you for showing up on time. It was a marathon month of activities with celebrations of festivals, with Sri Balaram Jayanti, then Janmashtami, and now we're getting ready for Sri Radha Ashtami festival also. So sometimes a break in between helps us to recharge, to get our mood and mind in the right place, as well as acknowledge the effort, the sacrifices, the hard work that everyone puts into executing and organizing the festivals. So today, I thought we will spend some time about how our mind works and how it relates to the mood, and some examples from our Shastras that compel us to go deeper into our own bhakti, into our own practices. So we're going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse number 61. So kindly repeat after me. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtitha. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtitha. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtitha. Anybody would like to recite the verse? Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Tani sarvani samyamya matparaha indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Translation: one who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. That the highest conception of yoga, perfection, is Krishna consciousness, is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. As cited above, the great sage Durvasa Muni picked up a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish, and Durvasa Muni unnecessarily became angry out of pride, and therefore could not check his senses. On the other hand, the king, although not as powerful a yogi as the sage, but a devotee of the Lord, silently tolerated all the sage's injustices, and thereby emerged victorious. The king was able to control his senses because of the following qualifications as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. We will come to those qualifications as in the course of this talk in the next 45 minutes or so. So this is one of the longest chapters in Bhagavad Gita. In a way, it is the entire summarization of the Bhagavad Gita in this chapter. Tani sarvani samyamya. Tani sarvani means all the senses. Tani sarvani means all the senses. And samyamya means control. And yukta asita matparaha means when one is situated in this particular situation. It is related to the question, Kim asita? Kim asita? So Krishna is saying, yukta asita. Yukta asita matparaha. When one engages the senses and situates oneself, how does one engage the senses in the service of the Lord? Matparaha means fixing the mind on me. Actually, this is, interestingly enough, the first place in Bhagavad Gita when Krishna is referring to himself. Up until now, Krishna has not spoken once about himself. This is the first time ever during the course of 45 minutes when Krishna spoke the entire Bhagavad Gita, he actually refers to himself. So Matparaha is actually the first drop of bhakti in Bhagavad Gita. Up until now that Krishna has dropped, the first drop of bhakti. In Bhagavad Gita, if you see, there are 18 chapters. The middle 6 chapters are for bhakti yoga. But Krishna gives the first sneak peek into the essence of those first 6 chapters here with this word, Matparaha. Because now is the first time he's directly referring to himself. Up until now, Krishna has been just the teacher for Arjuna of controlling the senses. We all have to control our senses. Anybody acts without controlling the senses? How do we act? We fall into the traps of the illusionary energy of the Lord. There are different kinds of illusions around us. Things that attract us. Namely, so very closely associated with the 4 regulative principles. Primarily, what are those? No meat eating, no intoxication of any kind, no illicit sex, and no gambling. So, if we don't practice sense control, we fall into the trap, and then we are cause of our own suffering. So, from here onwards, Krishna is saying that he is the object on which controlled senses should be focused or should be fixed. It says, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. When you do that, then vasehi yasya indriyani. Then you will be able to bring the senses under your control, or you will conquer over those senses. And then such a person who is able to do that, tasya prajna pratishtitha, that person is known as a person of steady intelligence. When you control all the senses, you win the game. Can we all control our senses? It's very difficult. But Krishna is giving us a method. He's saying, control all the senses and fix your consciousness on Him. In a sense, this verse is talking about 3 different stages. The first one is Tani Sarvani Samyamya. So you can scroll up to the verse, Tarun Kishore Prabhu, so it is visible on the screen. Saying Tani Sarvani Samyamya. Samyamya means restraining or to control. We need to control our senses. And why do we need to control? Because there is some opposition. Yes? Opposition from whom? Illusory energy or Maya. There is some opposition. That's why we need to restrain and we need to control. And Krishna here is talking about struggle. He's very real. We all struggle with controlling the urges that we have, the propensities that we have. So in that stage of struggle, we need His help. We need to have some level of control. And just control alone, is that sufficient? Can we control everything? Do we try to control everything? We try to control every little situation associated with us, people around us, circumstances around us, things that will benefit us. We all try to control, exercise our control. And when we are able to control, we are very happy. Look, what have I been able to do? I was able to control this situation. I was able to control this person. I was able to control the dynamic that played out here. But when it doesn't play out according to our will and wishes, what happens? Anger, frustration. So, Krishna is saying control alone is not sufficient. Therefore, yukta asita matparaha. So one needs to fix their consciousness upon Him. And when one is able to do that, when one is able to fix their consciousness on Krishna, then and only then vasehi yasya indriyani. After that, one is able to conquer the senses. So, we've seen this example that you see on the screen. This is a beautiful example. Before I get to it, so Krishna has given us 3 C's. What are the 3 C's? C, first one is control, controlling the senses. By doing what? Chanting, by concentration on who? On Him. And then we get what? We can conquer the mind. We can conquer the senses. Right? So 3 C's we have to remember related to this particular verse. Controlling the senses, concentrating or our mind on Krishna by chanting his names. It's the method he's given. And only then we can conquer our senses. So, for example, when we are practicing Krishna consciousness and we are trying to control the senses, we chant Hare Krishna. What are some of the activities that we do to engage our senses in the service of the Lord? Cooking for Krishna, yes. Listening about Krishna, yes. Reading about Krishna, correct. Associating with the devotees, yes. Prasadam. Actually, what's that? Meditating on Krishna's pastimes. Actually, 64 limbs of bhakti are mentioned very beautifully, and out of those, top 3 have already been mentioned. So, chanting Hare Krishna, going to temple, and listening about Krishna, meditating about the form of Krishna, meditating on his pastimes. These are all wonderful activities to get our senses under our control. So we're not thinking of other things that agitate the mind. Now, but are we really able to do that? Even when we come to the temple, are we really only focused on Krishna? Sometimes we're looking at what is the other person wearing. Your tilak is very beautiful, nice. That's a devotional activity, commenting. But, how does this person look together? They're not dressed properly. Maybe they're dressed very nicely. So even when we're in the temple, we are staying in this bodily concept of consciousness. You know, observing others, what they're doing. And if we can experience some level of devotional activity in association of the devotees or coming to the temple, that can only happen when we have some level of sense control. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. And it is mentioned in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna vayori va sudushkaram. Mind is so chanchal. It's like controlling the wind. It's very, very difficult to control the wind. Similarly, it's very, very difficult to control the mind. In Katha Upanishad, this analogy comes that you see on the screen, where it is said that the individual soul is the passenger in the chariot. Chariot of what? Chariot of our material body. Our body has a soul. So the individual soul is just a passenger in the chariot of material body. And the intelligence is the driver. Intelligence is the driver. And mind is the driving instrument. You know, the charioteer is holding the reins to the horses, so that's the mind. Mind is the driving instrument. And senses represent, the 5 senses represent, the horses represent the senses. And the individual is ultimately either the enjoyer or the sufferer in the association of the mind and the senses. So the individual person is either going to suffer or enjoy because of the mind, association of the mind and the intelligence. So, mind and the senses. Now, what happens is, intelligence is supposed to control the mind. But often, mind overcomes the intelligence. And when that happens, we do things that we are not supposed to be doing. And we don't do things that help us propel on the path of devotional service. The easiest way to control the mind is suggested by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept it very simple. One should just chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with humility, and you can conquer the mind. And this same method is described and prescribed by an example that Srila Prabhupada beautifully mentions in the purport to this particular verse, with the pastimes of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni, where it is exemplified by Ambarish Maharaj that one must engage one's mind fully in service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when that is done, only then there will be no engagements to agitate the mind. So, as we look, there is a beautiful verse in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Kindly repeat. Tesham aham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. But those who worship me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So Krishna is giving prescribed guidance as to how one can get out of the cycle of birth and death. Are our lives full of joy? Do we have no problems? In a way, our lives, one time my Guru Maharaj once said in Connecticut, almost 20 years ago now, that our life is like a sandwich. A sandwich in which there's a thick bread on the top, there's a thick bread at the bottom, and there's a leaf in the middle. Nothing else. And when you bite into that bread, it's all dry. Until that leaf gives you a little bit of hope that there is some taste. But then the bottom bread, again, as you chew on it, it's dry. Similarly, happiness and sorrows are part of our life. There is more sorrow than happiness that we experience as an individual soul. So when one concentrates the mind on Krishna, and after one concentrates the mind on Krishna, there is success. Because you can now conquer your senses. You can now go beyond and you can transcend the modes of material nature that affect us. And after that, there's senses are represented by the horses in that previous picture. And for the horse to be trained, what happens? When the horses are trained, the senses are trained, they will behave properly. Yes? So the horse can be rewarded with food and nourishment and care when it behaves well, when our senses behave well. And eventually, we are able to calm down our propensities that are in mode of ignorance or passion, until they are tamed and calmed to be in the mode of goodness. So our mind is restless. Even when Krishna is present in front of us, how many of us are alert and listening about Krishna and not thinking about anything else? Tomorrow is Monday, I have this meeting with my boss, I have to deliver this report. Oh, I have this meeting that I have to schedule. I have so much work to do. I haven't yet finished my grocery shopping I was supposed to do yesterday. Oh, so many thoughts. So many thoughts. And we look for nourishment here and there, but we can't find anywhere Because our mind is not fixated on the right things to focus on. And we fall into the trap. We fall into the matrix. Remember the movie Matrix? When the agents come to get Neo away from Morpheus. We have to do that movie presentation for 45 minutes that show how Bhagavad Gita is entirely tied to that movie. That is a phenomenal piece of artwork, I would say. So Krishna is saying that one who follows this process, that individual, that process is tasya prajna pratishtita, which means a person is well situated and their intelligence is well situated. In the 6th chapter, Srila Prabhupada writes, for the one who has conquered the mind is the best of the friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will become his greatest enemy. So, in the example of the horse representing the senses, taming the horse, there is samyamya. When a horse is running here and there in a stable and the horse trainer tries to gain control of the horse using the reins or other means, that is controlling the horse. That's samyamya, where there's some amount of restraint. And now, after describing this, Krishna will move forward to answer Arjuna's questions about Rajetakim. He explains what will happen when one fails to do this. Krishna has made a very, very smooth transition by using this word yukta. Yukta asita. Yukta means being connected or getting engaged. Just like getting engaged in various services is critical for us to progress on path of bhakti. Services come in many different ways. One might be cleaning the temple. Other might be cooking for Krishna. Somebody might be cleaning bathrooms. These activities are being done before any of us come inside the temple. Somebody might be decorating the altar. Somebody might be taking the trash out, getting ready for Sunday feast program. All of these activities as service are getting us engaged and connected to Krishna. On the surface, these seem like, mundane material activities, but they're not. Because they're not being done for someone's own selfish, prejudiced nature. These are being done to serve others. So these are not ordinary activities. These are not mundane activities. So in this verse, the primary point is that when we focus solely on control of senses, and we fail to concentrate our mind on Krishna and to conquer our senses, then control itself will fail. Many times we see there are yogis that are trying to just do meditation to control the mind. Nothing else. There are paths in yoga that teach you to meditate on nothing. Meditate on the universe. Meditate on some object, maybe light or sound. But no, those things are only going to be successful temporarily. They're not going to deliver the mind. Because Krishna has clearly said that control alone is not enough. Sooner or later, like we saw in the previous verse, mind is like a wind. Sooner or later, the mind will go wild and eventually it will overpower us. And when it does, then all the hells break loose. Now, Srila Prabhupada has quoted this beautiful example of Maharaj Ambarish and Durvasa Muni. From the point of view of Varnashram system, the 4 Varnas, the Kshatriyas being the second and the Brahmanas being the first, And, there are others like grastas and sannyasis and varnaprasthas and all that. But from both the varna and ashram standpoint, Durvasa Muni was considered higher. Why was he considered higher? He is a Brahmana and a Rishi. He's a Muni. He's a Muni. And there's a difference. He was not a saint. He was a Muni. There's a difference between the two. And he is considered higher. But he lacked one thing that's mentioned in this verse. What did he lack? Control. Yes. Matparaha. His mind was not fixed on Krishna. Particularly in this pastime, his focus was on his own renunciation. His identity is of a great sage. And his desire was that he was to be honored by Amrish Maharaj. And on the other hand, Amrish Maharaj was Matparaha. And Srila Prabhupada quotes a series of verses from Srimad Bhagavatam in this purport from the 9th canto. And this Durvasa Muni, although he was the great sage, he was prone to lose his temper. He would get really angry. His name was Durvasa, literally. What does Durvasa mean? Durvasa. Vasa means to live with. Dur means who is difficult. Difficult to live with. Please, husband and wife, don't look at each other. We're finding Durvasas amongst our own family members all the time. Or in our own community. Look, he's Durvasa. She's Durvasa. No. Durvasa Muni was magnitudes higher than the little Durvasas that reside in our hearts. So this Durvasa Muni, he was known to lose his temper. And Amrish Maharaj, on the other hand, he was the king. He was absorbed in so many material responsibilities. But internally, he had a great deal of tolerance. He had a great deal of equanimity of his mind. Completely, his mind was under his control. He had incredible amount of restraint. And although externally, Durvasa Muni was a sage, and Amrish Maharaj was a person of worldly affairs because he was managing this kingdom, he was spiritually, Amrish Maharaj was spiritually more accomplished than Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni was always looking to get into arguments. Whereas Amrish Maharaj, when he was provoked, he would never lose his cool. That's being cool-headed all the time is very, very difficult. It's, they say that a man should have a sweet mouth and a cool head. There's a saying like that. Now that reminds me of a story. One time, Srila Prabhupada was in London and there was a press conference. So a lady reporter, she raised her hand and she said, I have a question. She was a little bit of in a challenging mood. And she goes, Swamiji, why do you all shave your heads? That's a very odd question from a press reporter. And Srila Prabhupada was very witty. So Srila Prabhupada said, why do you shave your legs? She was not ready for this. So, but then, she was like totally like awestruck, like, where did that come from? And Srila Prabhupada, to lighten the mood, looked straight, basically noticed like everybody was like grave. Now what is he going to say? He goes, we shave our heads because as spiritually inclined we are, we want to have cool heads and warm legs. So, we are prone to harshness. We are prone to losing our emotions. We are prone to picking unnecessary arguments with each other. We have a decent number of you in the room, so maybe we can just do a little survey. I know everybody is very honest here. So, how many of us at some point of time in the last 7 days had an argument with somebody? We all can be honest. Raise your hands higher. Yes. Others who did not, my obeisances to all of you. So, those of you who raised your hands, thank you for coming to the Hare Krishna temple. Here we can atone for our sins of arguments. And we can chant Hare Krishna. So, you know, as we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, the predictions for this age of Kali Yuga are given. Kali Yuga is known as the age of hypocrisy and quarrel. So in the 12th canto, it said, "My dear king, with each day, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, forgiveness, mercy, duration of life, bodily strength, and memory will all decrease more and more by the mighty force of time." So as we see, you know, one of the major problems in this age of Kali Yuga is that people continually argue with each other. Why do they do that? Why does one argue with another? Ego. Yes. Somebody wants to prove themselves better than others. Yeah? Or maybe we don't have control of our emotions. That's why the arguments happen. People don't have equanimity in their mind. They don't have the control of their senses. Krishna is saying that one who is able to restrain their mind and senses, keeping them under full control, is known as the person of steady intelligence. What happens in the world today? Do people have that kind of equanimity of consciousness? For most part, no. We pick unnecessary arguments with each other. And then we help the prophecies like this, making sure that Kali Yuga stays the age of quarrel. We are the contributors. We are the part of the problem. Satyuga was known as the age of virtue. And in that age, people very much appreciated each other. All the time. In the next age, in the Treta Yuga, things got a little bit worse. And people started tolerating each other a lot more than we do. And then Dwapar came, and things got a little bit more worse. And people started fighting with each other, but in a civilized way. Now, we're in Kali Yuga. And in this age, people fight with each other. Is there a civilized way? No, not really. There is just no civil way for people to even treat each other humanly, even in wars. It's very evident with what's going on around the world. And this is all because somebody mentioned ego, to fulfill our false ego. People argue so much in the world we are living because they are not in control of their own senses. They're not in control of their own mind. And in nature, there are three energies. There is tamas, which is ignorance. There is rajas, which is passion. And there is sattva, that is goodness. Now, the interesting thing is that anything around us that we do in life falls into one of these three categories, one of these three modes. the food we eat, the activities we do, the way we parent our children. We do it in the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Even the arguments can be in the mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. How so? And there's a formula here that one can remember of 3 P's. 3 P's. So the first one is the mode of ignorance. The arguments that we do in the mode of ignorance are, first P, pointless. Pointless. Those arguments tend to be pointless. The arguments that we do in the mode of passion tend to be power arguments. Second P, power arguments. And then the third one, the arguments that happen in the mode of goodness, they tend to be productive. Productive. And these are the, I mean, if we analyze any arguments we've had, those of us who raised our hands, go back and think about that instance in the last week when we had that argument. Did it fit one of these 3 categories? Was it, if it was in the mode of ignorance or passion, was it really required? Was it needed? Could it have been avoided? The arguments in the mode of goodness, somewhat productive, okay, acceptable, yes, but pointless arguments means we argue and nothing good comes out of it. We don't get anything good out of it. We just don't gain anything except stroking our own ego. How many times during an argument, there is a moment in the argument we realize, oh my God, they're right. But the argument doesn't stop. It continues. It continues because now it is, to a point, it is so heated that you realize, I know I am wrong, but I can't stop in that moment because I can't let go. I cannot sacrifice my ego. And sometimes then we have those power arguments because we want to get something, we want to achieve, we want to establish our superiority. We want to prove our point. We want to set the record straight that I am right. And the power arguments, one may win a power argument. One may win that argument, but an individual might lose the peace of mind, might lose a character, might lose the focus. So the question to really ask is, do we delve into those arguments? Are they worth it? When we are in the middle of an argument, let's have an analysis, self-reflection right away when an argument is starting. Do I need to stop now? Do I need to stop now before this argument gets more heated? Do I need to walk away? Do I need to breathe? Do I need to go do something that will take my mind away from that particular situation? Then you win the argument without speaking. And then there are those productive arguments. Sometimes we do have to argue. We have to sometimes set the record straight, but in a productive way, in which we are actually ready to listen to the other party. We are ready to gain something out of their argument. We want to have an open mind to understand the other party's opinion. And then, when that argument is had in the right state of mind, then we will actually learn something out of it. So Durvasa Muni, when he came, and Ambrish Maharaj had just finished an year-long vrata, a vow of performing spiritual activities. And he was about to break his fast. He had fed all the brahmanas. And at that moment, when he was about to break his fast, there was only few moments left before he could break his fast. Durvasa Muni shows up, because Durvasa Muni could not stand and understand the piety of Ambrish Maharaj, thinking that why everybody glorifies him. He is just a king. And when Durvasa Muni came, and he was very well received by Ambrish Maharaj, and Ambrish Maharaj was honoring him and wanted to offer him prasadam, Durvasa Muni said, I need to go take a bath. And Durvasa Muni went to take a bath. And as he was standing in the river, Durvasa Muni went into a trance. But the clock was ticking. Ambrish Maharaj had to break his fast, because if he didn't, the entire year worth of his vow and the benefit out of it would come to no fruition. So he consulted all the other brahmanas in the assembly, and he was recommended that you cannot eat before serving Durvasa Muni, but you can drink a little bit of water. So he had just a little bit of water before the time span was over. And as he did, Durvasa Muni immediately showed up. And Durvasa Muni at the time got really, really angry, because the host eating before serving the guest is not considered a proper mood. It is not a proper etiquette. Sometimes we have guests coming to our home. You don't sit in front of them and have your meal and let them stay there until you are done. You serve them first, don't you? So Durvasa Muni, he was very harsh. And if you are harsh, we can't awaken our spirituality. We can't awaken our love for Krishna. We can't awaken our higher consciousness. And as soon as Durvasa Muni saw that Ambrish Maharaj had not served him first, he pounced. He just said something impulsively. In fact, he called upon a fire demon with a trident to go after Ambrish Maharaj. But Ambrish Maharaj was a pure devotee of the Lord. As evident from this particular verse, Savai mana Krishna padara vindayor vachamsi vaikuntha gunana varnane karau harer mandira marjana dishu shrutim chakara chuta sat kathodaye. Ambrish Maharaj was engaging his senses, his mind in service of the Lord. And Krishna is protector of his devotees. As soon as the Durvasa Muni called upon this demon, the fire demon, Sudarshan Chakra came to protect Ambrish Maharaj. And as soon as the Sudarshan Chakra came, the demon was gone, but the Sudarshan didn't stop there. Sudarshan was very, very angry because Durvasa Muni had offended. Now, Ambrish Maharaj didn't take any offense, but Durvasa Muni had committed an offense. So Sudarshan actually started running after Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni realized, boy, I made a mistake. And he starts running all across the material universe. He's going everywhere, but Sudarshan is not stopping. He could feel the heat of Sudarshan on his back. He ultimately realized that Sudarshan is not going to stop. And Durvasa Muni was so accomplished, he could actually go beyond the material universe into the spiritual sky. And he approached Narayan. He begged forgiveness of Narayan. And Narayan said, buddy, I'd like to help you, but you offended my devotee. You have to seek forgiveness from him. So Durvasa Muni came back and fell at the feet of Ambrish Maharaj. And Ambrish Maharaj was so embarrassed, he actually offered prayers to Sudarshan, calmed the Sudarshan down, and then Sudarshan went away, and then he served Durvasa Muni. So when we act impulsively, when we act disproportionately, we act counterproductively. And how do we check our impulsive nature? Are we harsh in judging others without giving them any opportunity to explain themselves? Just like Durvasa Muni did with Ambrish Maharaj. He didn't even try and understand why Ambrish Maharaj had few sips of water. Durvasa Muni was not able to control his senses at all. Whereas Ambrish Maharaj was in complete control of his senses. And those are the qualifications that are mentioned in this verse. So first and foremost, it begins with Mana Krishna Padara Vindayor, which means fixing the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. It is important to have that intention when we chant our japa, to fix our mind on Krishna. When we are offering anything to the Lord, fixing our mind on Krishna. When we take that flower, that incense, when we ring the bell, fix our mind on Krishna. Because as we are doing that, we are engaging our senses. We're engaging our senses with the intention that we are thinking about Krishna and fixing our mind upon Him. Or with practice, it becomes easier for us to follow and do. And let's see how Ambrish Maharaj was engaging his senses. Then it says, Vachamsi Vaikuntha Gunanu Varnane. That refers to using one's speech to describe the glories of the Lord. Glories of Vaikuntha, which can be also understood Lord Vishnu. Vaikuntha itself is one of the incarnations of Lord Vishnu. That's mentioned in Vishnu Sahasranama. And by using our speech, how we describe Krishna, the glories of Krishna, the glories of Vaikuntha, the pastimes of Krishna, as somebody mentioned earlier, we are engaging our speech, which is one of the senses. And it says, Karau Harer Mandira Marjanadishu, means using our hands to clean the temple of the Lord. By physically engaging our hands in cleaning the temple. We mentioned earlier, there are devotees here, residents, other devotees in the congregation, they come. You don't even know that before you come, they actually clean the toilets. They take this trash out. Every week, multiple times a week. They come here, they clean the floor. They sweep the floor, they mop the floor. This is how Ambrish Maharaj used to engage his senses, by physically engaging his own hands in cleaning the temple to serve the Lord. Then, Shrutim Chakarachyuta Sat Kathodaye. That refers to using our ears to hear the auspicious and eternal glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We hear, in this world, we hear stories and narratives of so many people, politicians, wars, cricketers, business people, criminals, heads of states, so many different things. Are those really going to deliver us from the cycle of birth and death? The answer is no. Now, we don't say that one should not be aware of our surroundings, but we should not overindulge in those activities. So we should use as much as possible our ears to hear about Him. And these instructions guide us on how to engage our different senses in the service of Krishna and fix our mind on Krishna, as per Srimad Bhagavatam, as per our Shastras. And then, in the next couple verses, and I'll not recite the verses that you see on the screen, these are 3 sets of verses, the beautiful verses. If you do not have Srimad Bhagavatam, please get a set of Srimad Bhagavatam and open up Canto 9 and read these verses in chapter 4 of Canto 9. They're also on vedabase.io. So, in the first line, it's mentioned, Mukunda Lingalaya Darshane Drisho. What do the eyes do? What do the eyes do? Eyes are being engaged to take darshan of the deity. When you are coming into the temple, you're engaging your senses, you're engaging your eyes to take the beautiful darshan of Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari. And even coming into the temple, that reminds us of Krishna. When we set out in our car to drive to the temple, it is reminding us that we are coming here to take darshan of Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would offer full dandavat to Neela Chakra. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can offer full dandavats, all of us can offer full dandavats. And we come to take darshan of Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari. And we see this beautiful form as mentioned in this particular verse in the first line of Mukunda. And it says, Tad bhritya gatra sparshe anga sanga mam. So what would his body do? Tad bhritya, and his devotees? Gat sparshe anga sanga mam. So when devotees come, he will touch their feet, Ambrish Maharaj, and take the dust on his head. He would use his body to touch the body of the devotees with reverence. Granam cha tat pad saroja saurabhe Srimat tulsaya rasanam tad arpite. So granam means to accept. Chatat pada saroja saurabhe. So what would he do with tat pada saroja, the lotus flower that was offered to the Supreme Lord? He would smell it. Srimat tulasaya rasanam tad arpite, and he will relish the tulasi that is offered to the Lord. And then padau hare kshetra padanu sarpane so padau. He will use his feet to go to Hare kshetra, the temple, the holy places. And he would go around, he would circumambulate them. And he would use his feet like that in the service of the Lord. And after describing all of these, kamam cha dasya natu kama kamayaya yathotam shloka janashraya rati. He made all his desires his servants. All his desires his servants. Just think about that. We have so many desires. Which desires are for the service of the Lord versus service for ourselves? And kamam cha dasya natu kama kamyaya. He did not become a desirer of desires. He did not become a servant of his desires. And yathotam shloka janarasya rati. So in this way, the Supreme Lord, who is the shelter of all of us, Ambrish Maharaj developed his rati, his absolute surrender to the Lord. It's beautifully described as to how one needs to engage their senses in the service of the Lord. So what have we learned as we conclude? What have we learned? Wonderful. Anybody else? 3 C's. Yes, what are those 3 C's? Conquer, chant, control, yes? Control, concentrate, consciousness on higher, absolute truth, and conquer your senses. 3 C's, okay, what else? 3 P's, 3 C's and 3 P's. What are the 3 P's? Powerless, pointless arguments, powerful arguments, and then productive arguments. Which ones we should avoid? Pointless and powerful. As long as they are stroking our ego. Sometimes we have to argue to defend our philosophy. Sometimes we have to argue in a powerful way to defend the position of the Supreme Lord. And that is absolutely actually recommended in the Shastra. Mahaprabhu himself has done it. And then the productive arguments are for to have an open mind, to hear others' opinions so that we can learn something out of it. So 3 C's and 3 P's. What else? What did we learn out of the last 3 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam of the Ambrish Maharaj's example? How to engage all our senses, all the 10 senses. What are the 10 senses? The 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnana-indriyas. How do we engage all of them in the service of the Lord? So, great example, because we learn from examples and we try to follow those examples. We might not be successful to follow everything, but as long as we have an intent to follow, we will make progress. And that is what Srila Prabhupada has taught us through the processes of bhakti, the limbs of bhakti that we are given by our Goswamis. Because Goswami means what? One who can control the senses. Yes? And Godas is one who is controlled by the senses. Yeah? Do you want to be Goswami or Godas? You can be a Goswami being in a Grasta ashram. That is the beauty of Krishna conscious process. We don't have to be in saffron or a sannyas. We can be Goswamis even while being Grastas. So with that, I will stop. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki. So I was actually asked to speak a little bit about Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari. Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari, we celebrated their 2nd anniversary of appearance here in ISKCONofRoundRock. And there is a very beautiful little story that most of you do not know as to when they arrived and how they arrived. And I will take just a few moments to explain and share. Because this was a very mystical movement. And when Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari, was, let's just say, they were being carved and made into the murti in India, in Vrindavan. Some of you have been to my home. You've had darshan of Shri Shri Radha Rasika Chandra, and you've noticed the Radharani there. So our deities were supposed to arrive a year before Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari. And our deities had arrived, but there was some complication and Radharani had to go back to Jaipur. So our deities came from Jaipur, Shri Shri Radha Kunj Bihari from Vrindavan. And now Radharani alone went back to Jaipur. That is from our home. And we were waiting for their arrival. And it just so happened that within 4 days of each other, they were both being sent from India to US, to Round Rock. Now, the Radharani from our home, Shri Radha Rasika Chandra, she left Jaipur 4 days before Shri Radha Kunj Bihari left Vrindavan. Now, you know, the interesting thing one would think is, okay, Radharani left 4 days before, she's already on a plane and she's coming. And Shri Radha Kunj Bihari had come from Vrindavan to Delhi. Now, the problem that happened was we could not trace whereabouts of Radharani who was coming alone from Jaipur. And we were very concerned. For 4 days, there was no update, and the tracking number we had from DHL was non-traceable. They could not trace, we called DHL, and even they could not trace her. So, about a week had passed. Shri Radha Kunj Bihari were at the Delhi airport with the DHL facility. And they were there for almost a week after they were shipped from Vrindavan. So a week later, they're still in Delhi, and we are concerned why the shipment is not leaving Delhi. The shipper was trying to contact DHL locally. We were trying to figure it out. Nobody could give an answer. It had already cleared custom, by the way. On the 8th day, the shipment Shri Radha Kunj Bihari showed to be airborne on a flight. And the flight number was mentioned. This is not a commercial flight, by the way. It's a DHL flight, but the flight number is there. There is a tracking number of which flight the DDs are on. Interestingly enough, the Radharani that had left Jaipur was also on the same flight. So somehow, in a mystical way, Kunj Bihari was waiting to make sure that Radharani was not coming alone. We might laugh because we are thinking, yo, how funny that is. But actually, this is a divine arrangement. How can Krishna come alone and leave Radharani behind? So our Radharani at our home actually was accompanied by Shri Radha Kunj Bihari, and they were all delivered together at our home about 5 days later. Same flight to Amsterdam from Delhi, Amsterdam to, I forget whether it was Tennessee or somewhere, and then Tennessee to Austin together. Mind you, 3 different pack boxes in which they arrived, all came on the same flight to our home. So, Shri Radha Kunj Bihari ki, and we'll pass on the mic.
Request everyone to please stand for Aarti. Hare Krishna. We request everyone, you can come closer. Please come closer.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
We request everyone to bow down, please. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Pravikacharya So Sri Srimati Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Pravikacharya So Sri Srimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Brihad Mradanga Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Narasimhaya.
Latlarine.
Aladadaine.
Hinanyagashi Purvakshaha.
Yakashi Purvakshaha.
Shinatangaka Nakalaye.
Shilatanakanakalaya.
Ito Nasingma Bharato Nasingma.
Ito Nasima Parato Nasima.
Yato Yato Yamitato Nasingma.
Yato Yato Yamitata Nasima.
Bahir Nasingma Hire Nasingmo.
Bahe Nasima Vedare Nasima.
Narasimha Madam Shararam Prapate.
Narasima Made
Tara Kama Kamalavare Nakal Avuta Shingam Talita Hiranyakashipu Tanavinga
Jagadish Hare Narasimha Jaya Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Makara Kamalavare Nakha Adhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu
Keshavadita Navaharirupa
Jagadish Hare
Jaya Palamara, Jaya Palamara, Jaya Palamara.
Jaya Palamara
Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada.
Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Premanande Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON of Round Rock Sunday program. Anybody else in denial that it is September already? Anyone? It's just me. I cannot believe it is September already. It officially is supposed to be fall. Kind of feels like fall. Not really. We're still about to hit some warm way, but we're so happy that you all have come here to our Sunday program.